Hi everyone, this is just a quick video on, well, it's not a quick video, but it's to the guy who's asked me a couple of questions on response to my christening tips video, and you're using a 60D as well. So I hope this video is going to help you. I'll spend 5 minutes in having a quick chat about it. Now, you've said that you can use flash, which is great. I've used the 60D at a wedding I did not so long ago, and I shot them at 6400. So, and don't get me wrong, you get a bit of noise, but you'd print them out A4, no worries. That's without doing any noise reduction, shooting in RAW. But as you can use flash, hopefully you'll be able to keep your ISO down to about 1600 maybe, and fill in with flash. What I'd suggest to you is, I always, when you're in a church, when you're shooting, you never want to use AV. Now, I'm not saying if you really want to use AV, then use it. But my recommendations are, if you're, let's say for instance, the vicar, you're stood behind the vicar and you're shooting the bride and groom, and you can't really walk around all over. Well, depending on what position you shoot it from, there's always a window on the left or a window on the right, and it'll throw your exposure off really bad. So what I personally do is, if he tells you to stand, like a lot of them usually like you to stay roughly in one place. Usually I go with 2 photographers, and one of us will be at the back and more or less just stay there near the aisle. In fact, one of us are usually in the centre of the aisle, but at the back of the church. Well, not right at the back, but halfway down. And sometimes, well, most of the time, that's me. And I'll just kneel there on the floor with a couple of cameras, and I'll sit there shooting. And plus I'm out of my friend's way because I'm on the floor. And my friend will be behind the vicar, and he'll be shooting from one side. But I'm only going to tell you this, why I'm saying this, because my friend gave me a load of underexposed images, and he went, oh, my meter got it wrong. And I've said it before, your meter never gets it wrong. It's you that gets it wrong. If your picture's dark, don't blame your camera. And I'm not having a go here, I'm just saying it's your fault, not the camera's. So if you use manual, you can get stood where you are, you can expose for your ambient, before you even bring in your flash. Don't turn on your flash straight away. Bring in your ambient, decide what the minimum shutter speed you're going to use. So if you say, right, I'm not going to go any slower than 1/100 of a second, lock that in. Then take a shot at, say, ISO 800, see what's happening. What you don't want to happen is you want to look professional. So you could, in theory, put your shutter speed at 1/200 of a second, f5.6, and let your flash just do the work, and then all your pictures would be really dark at the back of the church, and they'd look crap. They'd look like a novice took them. So what you're aiming for is a nicely exposed image. So what I would do is, I'd lock my shutter speed in at about 1/100 of a second, maybe 1/250, if it's a christening, because you're going to try catch a bit of motion. And then I'd say go straight to f2.8 or maybe f4, depending on the depth of field you're after. And choose your aperture and choose an ISO. Just start somewhere. So if you start at ISO 1600, f4 at 1/1/250 of a second, take a shot. And then don't forget, you're in manual, so all that's locked in. It ain't going to change. You can jump left, jump right, go here, duck down, zoom in, take the shot. See what's happening. Look at your camera. If you're taking in if your image is nearly there, but you need to then fire in your flash for a bit of fill, that's what you're aiming for. You want your flash to be fill. You don't, like at the wedding I did before, I would have shot it at 3200, not 6400, and I would have filled in with a stopper flash. And that's how I would have worked it. So if you're at 1600 and it's slightly underexposed, see if you can just put your flash on and fill in a little bit. And that's a good thing. If your background and your ambient's still really dark, then you can either drop from an f4 to an f2.8 or an f2 if you've got one of those lenses. But bearing in mind, if you shoot at those apertures, that you're going to have very little in focus for a christening. Usually when I'm just photographing bride and groom, I can shoot at f2 and just focus on bride, focus on groom, focus on bride, focus on groom. Do you know what I mean? So open up your aperture, or you'll have to go to ISO 3200, then take a look. Basically, like I've said to you, get your ambient exposure first, so that you're looking on the back of your camera and go, right, that looks good, but I need some flash now just to help the whole image. And then use your flash and fill in with your flash. And don't forget, use manual, and you'll get really consistent pictures as well, which is why I always use manual in the church. I'm just thinking of anything else that I could help you with. Yeah, just that's it really. That's all you need to know. Just remember, you can, once the ceremony starts, you might be able to half that shutter speed and go down to like a 60th. But if you do that, you're going to have to take plenty of shots. So that'll let you in another stop of light without going higher on the ISO. Or maybe you can let another stop of light in with a shutter speed and then up your aperture a bit. So if you're at f2.8, you might better go to a 4 so you get a better depth of field. But bearing in mind, when you are at those shutter speeds, that you want to take a fair few shots, because otherwise you're going to end up with a fair few blurred. But I do it all the time, but you just need to take plenty of shots. Remember that when you're up at those ISOs as well, your images will not be like ISO 100, and that's one thing you've got to get used to. I mean, I used to be really pissed off when I used to come home at 3200 and look at them and they're just not the quality of 100. Now I've learnt to love it. I embrace it, especially being a wedding photographer, or like what you're doing, a christening photographer. You're in ultra low light. A lot of vicars don't even like flash, and to be honest, your flash won't do that much of a great deal in a massive church anyway, but it will definitely add some fill. If you're up at 1600 or 3200, it'll definitely add a nice bit of fill for you and mean that you can get a slight, like that last church that I did the wedding at, and I were at 6400. It would have been nice to drop down to 3200 and fill in with flash, or even maybe 2000 might have done it. I don't know, because obviously I didn't get a chance to do it. But you've got that bonus, and I hope it helps. 60D, you're talking about, you've asked me about some recommended settings. I would turn them all off. I'd turn auto lighting optimizer off. I like tonal priority. I used to use it. Well, you want your blinkies on, but I think, is it highlight tonal priority, that the thing that helps you get slightly better highlights? I'd turn that off. I'd turn auto lighting optimizer off. I'd shoot RAW. Definitely don't shoot JPEG, because you're going to have your camera pushed up quite high, so you don't want to shoot JPEG. You definitely want to shoot RAW, and then you can do a little bit of editing afterwards. But unless they're going to get prints bigger than A4, you should be fine shooting up to 3200 and printing up to A4 on prints without doing any noise removal. You can just leave it at 3200. Come on, I know you'll zoom in Lightroom or whatever you use and go, oh, there's grain, but you won't see it under A4, printing A4, so you don't even have to do any noise removal from a RAW. If 6400, you probably want to do in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw, you want to be doing about 20 to 25% on the slider. Everything else is default on the noise removal slider. But if you get stuck, I'll gladly help you out. And I hope this video helps, and thanks for watching.